They called my $15 million deal adequate. So I quit, started my own company, stole their biggest client, and now they're begging me to save them. This is how I did it. My name is Dalton Mercer, and for 7 years I was the invisible backbone of Zenith Marketing Solutions. 7 years of arriving before dawn, leaving after dusk, and pouring every ounce of my creativity into campaigns that made other people rich and famous. 7 years of being passed over, overlooked, and underestimated. But this isn't a story about defeat. This is about the moment I stopped waiting for recognition and started building my own empire. It all began on a Tuesday morning in March, when I walked into the conference room for what I thought would be my promotion meeting. I had just closed the Pemberton account, a $15 million deal that everyone said was impossible. Pemberton Industries was the white whale of our industry, a tech conglomerate that had rejected every marketing firm in the city. But I had studied their CEO, Rashida Pemberton, for months. I knew she valued authenticity over flash, substance over style. So I crafted a campaign that spoke to her company's roots, their mission to democratize technology for underserved communities. When she signed the contract, my boss, Vernon Hutchins, threw a company-wide celebration. Champagne flowed, people cheered, and Vernon gave a speech about our incredible team effort. He didn't mention my name once, not once, but I told myself it didn't matter. The promotion meeting was coming. That's when I'd finally get the recognition I deserved. I arrived at the conference room 10 minutes early that Tuesday, wearing my best suit, the navy one I'd saved 3 months to buy. Vernon was already there, along with Celeste Ng, our VP of Operations, and 2 board members I recognized but had never spoken to. My heart hammered with anticipation. "Dalton, have a seat," Vernon said, gesturing to a chair at the far end of the table. Not at the table itself, but a chair pushed against the wall, my first warning sign. "I wanted to bring you in to thank you personally for your contributions to the Pemberton account," Vernon continued, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. "Your research was adequate, really helped the team pull together a winning strategy." Adequate, the word hit me like a slap. I had created that entire campaign from scratch. The research, the pitch deck, the follow-up strategy, all of it was mine. "As you know," Celeste chimed in, "we've been restructuring the leadership team, and after careful consideration, we've decided to promote Garrison Wells to Senior Director of Client Relations." Garrison Wells, the man who had joined the company 18 months ago with a mediocre portfolio and an Ivy League degree he mentioned in every conversation. The man who had taken credit for my Thornbury campaign last year, my Silver Lake rebrand 6 months ago, and apparently now my Pemberton deal. "Garrison brings a certain pedigree to the role," Vernon said, as if reading from a script. "His connections in the industry will be invaluable as we expand." I sat there frozen. 7 years. 7 years of 60-hour weeks, of cancelled plans, of missed birthdays and holidays. 7 years of watching people with half my talent and twice my privilege climb over me like I was a stepping stone in their career path. "I created the Pemberton campaign," I heard myself say. My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. Every slide, every talking point, every strategic recommendation, that was my work. Vernon's expression hardened. "Marketing is a team sport, Dalton. We all contribute to the wins around here." "But not everyone gets promoted," I said quietly. "If you're feeling undervalued," Celeste said in that patronizing tone that made my skin crawl, "perhaps we can discuss a small raise during your annual review. In October." October, 6 months away. A small raise, after bringing in $15 million. I stood up, and for the first time in 7 years, I saw them clearly. These people would never see me as anything more than a workhorse, a reliable producer who could be counted on to deliver excellence without requiring the messy complications of fair compensation or acknowledgement. "I quit," I said. The room went silent. Vernon's mouth actually fell open. "Excuse me," Celeste said. "I quit, effective immediately. I'll have my desk cleared by end of day." "Now let's not be hasty," Vernon said, standing up. "You're upset, I understand, but think about what you're throwing away. 7 years of building your career here." "My career?" I laughed, a bitter sound that surprised even me. "I don't have a career here, Vernon. I have a job. There's a difference. A career has growth, opportunity, recognition. I've just been a ghost you call on when you need impossible things accomplished." I walked out before anyone could respond. My hands were shaking, my heart racing, but underneath the fear and anger, something else was growing: liberation. The next 2 weeks were a blur. I went home that Tuesday afternoon and did something I'd never allowed myself to do. I opened a bottle of expensive bourbon, the one I'd been saving for my promotion celebration, and I drank it while sitting on my apartment floor. Not in despair, but in planning mode. I pulled out every project I'd ever worked on, every campaign strategy, every client analysis. I had copies of everything: my work, my ideas, the strategies that had made Zenith millions. Of course, I had nothing proprietary from the company, nothing that violated my contract. But my methodologies, my strategic frameworks, my approach to client relations, that was all mine. I had developed those skills long before Zenith, and I would take them wherever I went. By dawn Wednesday, I had a business plan. By Friday, I had a name: Meridian Strategies. By the end of week 2, I had filed my LLC paperwork, leased a small office space in the downtown arts district, and done something that terrified and exhilarated me in equal measure. I reached out to Rashida Pemberton. "Ms. Pemberton, this is Dalton Mercer," I said when she answered my call. "We worked together on your marketing contract with Zenith. I was the lead strategist on your account." "Dalton, yes, of course I remember you. You were the only one in that meeting who actually understood what we were trying to build. Is everything all right with the campaign?" "The campaign is fine, but I'm no longer with Zenith. I've started my own firm, and I wanted to reach out personally because your company's mission resonates deeply with me. I wondered if we might meet for coffee." We met the next day at a small cafe near her office. Rashida was in her early 50s, with silver-streaked hair and sharp, intelligent eyes that seemed to see right through any pretense. "Tell me what happened," she said simply. So I did. I told her about 7 years of invisible labor, about watching my work get credited to others, about the promotion that went to someone who contributed a fraction of what I had. I didn't complain or badmouth, I just stated facts clearly and calmly. Rashida listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "You know what I see when I look at you, Dalton," she finally said. "I see someone who just realized their worth. That's a dangerous thing, dangerous to all the people who have been undervaluing you." She pulled out her phone and scrolled through something. "Our contract with Zenith is for 12 months with a renewal clause at month 6. That's 4 months from now. Vernon has already reached out twice trying to schedule the renewal meeting, but honestly, I haven't been impressed with the execution since you left. The team seems lost." My heart started racing. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that when that renewal comes up, I'm going to tell Zenith that we're exploring other options. And I'm saying that if a certain new firm called Meridian Strategies were to pitch me on why they should handle our marketing going forward, I'd be very interested in hearing that pitch." I could barely breathe. "Ms. Pemberton." "Rashida, please, and Dalton, that pitch better be brilliant. I'm not doing you a favor here, I'm making a business decision. Prove to me that you can deliver without Zenith's infrastructure behind you." I spent the next 3 weeks building that pitch. I worked from my tiny office space, sometimes sleeping on the couch because I was too energized to go home. I brought in Taryn Blackwell, a brilliant designer I'd known from my first job, who had also been undervalued at her corporate firm. Then Marcus Joe, a data analyst who could make numbers tell stories that CEOs actually understood. We were 3 people who'd been overlooked, working 16-hour days because finally, someone was going to see what we could really do. The pitch to Rashida was scheduled for a Wednesday in June. We arrived at Pemberton Industries at 9:00 a.m. sharp, rolling in our presentation materials like we were preparing for a product launch. Rashida had invited her entire executive team, 8 people total, all watching us with expressions ranging from curious to skeptical. I opened with a question: what if your marketing didn't just sell products but built movements? For the next 90 minutes, we showed them a comprehensive strategy that went beyond traditional marketing. We proposed community partnership programs, educational initiatives in underserved neighborhoods, a social impact campaign that would position Pemberton not just as a tech company, but as a catalyst for change. Every recommendation was backed by data Marcus had compiled, visualized through Taryn's stunning graphics, and tied to my strategic framework that had taken years to develop. When we finished, the room was silent. Rashida looked at her CFO, Donovan Martinez, who had been the most skeptical person in the room. "Well," she asked him. Donovan leaned back in his chair studying us. This is either genius or completely insane, possibly both. He paused. I vote genius, let's do it. Rashida smiled. Dalton, I believe we have our answer. Welcome aboard Meridian Strategies. The contract they offered us was for 18 months, worth $8 million. $8 million. It was more than half of what they'd paid Zenith, and it was all ours. Walking out of that building, I called Tarin and Marcus, who'd been waiting at a coffee shop around the corner, too nervous to sit still. When I told them, Tarin actually screamed. Marcus, normally reserved, picked me up in a bear hug that lifted me off the ground. But the real vindication came 3 days later. My phone rang with an unfamiliar number. When I answered, I heard Vernon Hutchins' voice, strained and falsely cheerful. Dalton, good to hear your voice. How have you been? Busy, I said simply. Listen, I'll cut to the chase. Rashida Pemberton informed us this morning that they're not renewing their contract. She said. He paused, and I could hear papers rustling. She said they've decided to work with a smaller, more innovative firm that better understands their vision. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you? I smiled. I might. Dalton, that account was worth $15 million to us. If you've somehow poisoned our relationship with them. I didn't poison anything, Vernon. I offered them better service. There's a difference. This is unprofessional, unethical even. You're stealing our client. No, I said, my voice calm and steady. I'm competing fairly in an open market. Pemberton Industries made a business decision based on which firm offered them the best value. If you think that's unethical, maybe you should examine why your former strategist is outperforming your entire current team. The silence on the other end was deafening. You know what your problem was, Vernon, I continued. You thought loyalty meant I would stay quiet and grateful while you took credit for my work. But real loyalty is a two-way street. You lost your best strategist because you were too blind to see his value until it was walking out the door. I hung up before he could respond. Over the next 6 months, Meridian Strategies grew faster than I could have imagined. Rashida Pemberton became our biggest advocate, referring us to 3 other companies in her network. Tarin brought in 2 more designers, both women of color who'd been systematically overlooked at larger firms. Marcus hired a junior analyst he'd been mentoring, a brilliant kid named Kai Sullivan who was the first in his family to graduate college. We moved into a larger office space, a converted warehouse with exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows. I insisted on a different kind of workplace culture, flexible hours, mental health days without questions asked, profit sharing from day one, a policy that every team member's contribution would be acknowledged in client presentations. We weren't just building a company, we were building the kind of place we'd all wished we had worked at before. The turning point came at the annual Marketing Excellence Awards in November. Zenith Marketing Solutions had been nominated for the Pemberton campaign, the one I had created. They submitted it under Garrison Wells' name as lead strategist. But Rashida Pemberton found out, and she was furious. She contacted the awards committee and demanded they investigate who had actually created the campaign. She provided emails, timestamps, and her own testimony that I had been the sole architect of the strategy. The committee launched a review, and within 2 weeks, they disqualified Zenith's submission for misrepresentation. In the meantime, Meridian Strategies had been nominated for our Pemberton renewal campaign, the community partnership program we'd launched in August. And on awards night, in front of 300 industry professionals, we won gold for social impact marketing. I stood on that stage with Tarin and Marcus beside me, holding our award, and I saw Vernon Hutchins sitting at his table, his face a mask of forced congratulations. Beside him, Garrison Wells looked like he wanted to disappear. This award doesn't belong to me, I said into the microphone. It belongs to every person who's been told they're not good enough, not connected enough, not pedigreed enough. Every person who's watched someone else take credit for their work. Every person who's been made to feel invisible. I held up the award. You are not invisible. Your work matters. And sometimes the best revenge is building something so successful that the people who overlooked you can't help but see you now. The applause that followed was thunderous. Today, 2 years after I walked out of that conference room, Meridian Strategies employs 23 people. Our annual revenue is $12 million. We've won 7 industry awards. We've been featured in Marketing Weekly, Forbes Under 40 and Entrepreneur magazine. And every single person on our team knows that their contributions matter because I make sure of it. Vernon Hutchins reached out 3 more times over the past 2 years. First to threaten legal action that went nowhere because I'd done nothing wrong. Then to offer me a partnership opportunity back at Zenith, which I declined. And finally, 6 months ago, to ask if I'd be interested in acquiring Zenith's client list because they were downsizing. I said no, I don't need their leftovers. We're building our own legacy. Sometimes, late at night in my office, I think about that version of myself who sat in that conference room 2 years ago, being told my work was adequate. I think about how close I came to staying, to accepting that small raise in October, to spending another 7 years making other people successful while I remained invisible. And I'm grateful that they pushed me hard enough that I finally pushed back, grateful that they underestimated me so thoroughly that they never saw me as a threat until it was too late, grateful that they taught me the most valuable lesson of my career. No one will ever value your work as much as you do, so you better be ready to bet on yourself. The best revenge isn't anger or sabotage or burning bridges. The best revenge is building something so undeniably excellent that the people who doubted you have no choice but to watch you succeed. The best revenge is proving that you were never the problem. They were just too blind to see the solution standing right in front of them. My name is Dalton Mercer, and I'm no longer the invisible backbone of someone else's company. I'm the very visible CEO of my own, and we're just getting started. This is my story, this is my revenge, and honestly, it's the sweetest thing I've ever tasted.